Hi folks, it's Tom Garrity here, your favourite psychological safety geek, hopefully your favourite, and there aren't many of us. Today I'm going to be talking about human error and why it should be the start of investigations, not the end. Human error is never a root cause. Human error is not a useful category of root of cause. In fact, it's a symptom of wider problems, and in this piece we're gonna work out why. We're gonna have a look at why human error is not really a root cause. We're gonna go beyond sort of the idea of there being one root cause and into there being multiple causes, multiple factors that go into some sort of disaster or failure. And I'm going to look at the different typologies of human error, or sort of touch on those. Human error, as I said, human error should be the start of investigations, not the end. If you ever hear an investigation into something that says, the investigation determined that the root cause was human error, or we've determined human error was the problem, then that's not really useful. What made that person perform that error, may do something wrongly, incorrectly, make a poor decision, or slip or lapse? And generally, so our approach and the approach of many other practitioners and scholars in the sort of new view of safety and safety 2 and stuff like that, and human organizational performance, is that systems are safer because of people, not in spite of them. Like a system is safe because people adapt and change and make decisions based upon changing context and reality, and it was there is an alternate view, which we'll dive into in another video. But let's just think briefly about some examples. So if you think about the example of a goalkeeper, so if you're familiar with football, or as other people in the world might call it, soccer, if you're familiar with that, you might be familiar with the idea of a penalty. Someone takes a penalty, so someone kicks the ball straight at the goal, and the goalie doesn't really have time to see where the ball is going to go. So you've got to make a very quick decision whether to dive left or right. You're probably going to decide in advance, actually, and just hope that you're right. You've got a 50-50, or roughly 50-50, there's a chance it'll go straight in the middle. You've got a 50-50 chance roughly that you'll be right, and you might be able to save it. Now, in hindsight, of course, the goalie dives to the left, the ball goes to the right, and you'll hear loads of pundits and fans and people saying, he should have just dived to the right. He should have just dived to the right. Well, of course he should have. But the moment we hear anyone saying, they should have done this, they should have done this, they should have done that, or you should have done Y or X, if only they'd have done this or that, then it wouldn't have happened. It wouldn't have gone wrong. That's when we're using counterfactual reasoning, and we're not appreciating the factors that go into making these decisions, and we're not appreciating or examining the component causes of these errors. We're going to get into counterfactuals in another session. Right now, let's have a look at the types of human error. So there's someone called Kern in the 90s defined two types of human error. They are omission and commission. This is very simple. So omission means we didn't do something that we should have done. Commission means we did do something that we shouldn't have done. Now this is fairly useful. It's quite useful, but it's a fairly binary description of error. A more useful typology of human error is from James Reason in 1990, which we've sort of slightly modified here. First is slips and lapses. And slips and lapses happen they happen all the time. However good we are, however competent and expert and experienced we are, we're not going to do something perfectly every single time. We're not going to do it the same way every single time. Even if we're amazing drivers, we're going to get distracted every now and then. We're going to make a mistake. We're going to slightly exceed the speed limit when we didn't mean to. We're going to be, going downhill. We're looking at the traffic in front. We didn't realize that our speed crept up a little bit. This happens to all of us. Ideally it wouldn't, of course, but it does happen. Slips and lapses happen however good we are and however experienced we are. We can't rely on extra training and just experience to prevent this happening. We can try to create the systems and things to deal with this, which we'll come to in a minute. Mistakes. Mistakes are another type of error. So this is where we are presented with information. We have a certain amount of information at our hands, and we need to make a decision. And we make a decision, and it turns out in hindsight to be the wrong one. Now, there was no way that we knew beforehand it was going to be the wrong one, otherwise we wouldn't have made it, right? We're not intentionally making wrong decisions. We didn't know how it was going to turn out. So if we get to a T-junction, if we're driving, we get to a T-junction, we know where we want to go to, but we don't know whether we need to turn left or right, and there's no information, there's no signs telling us whether we need to go left or right. So we turn left, and as it turns out, a mile down the road, we realise we should have turned the other way. That's a mistake, and we can do what we can to mitigate that in effect. Next time we get to that T-junction, we'll know better, right? But in advance, we couldn't know. Now, there's another type of error, which is violations. And these are where we take actions or decisions that conflict with the way we should do things. Now, this might be a violation of a policy or process, or it might be a violation of the expected norms of the group, of the rules of the group, be it explicit or implicit. And this might be unacceptable behaviour, or just the way we do things around here. And this may be unintentional, or it may be intentional. And if it's unintentional, it might be because we didn't know that process existed. We weren't trained to do it effectively. We were trained a different way. We didn't know the existence of a checklist or policy or procedure. And it might be intentional, right? But it might be intentional with positive intent or negative intent. Now, if it's intentional with negative intent, i.e., we intend to do harm, this is one of those rare cases, I feel, where blame enters the room justifiably. If someone intends to do wrong and intends to cause harm, if we have a saboteur or someone who intends to cause harm to someone else, then absolutely blame is on the table, and in fact criminal and other sort of proceedings are likely on the table too. Now, if we commit a violation with positive intent, this is where we are making a decision based upon what we know, applying local rationality, right, to a context where we feel that we have to violate this procedure knowingly in order to achieve the best outcome. This happens an awful lot in healthcare, and to a degree in other domains such as aviation, manufacturing, tech, and other things. But an awful lot in healthcare, arguably an awful lot of good patient outcomes are because people violate the way we should do things, or some sort of process or procedure, of which there are many, to achieve the best outcome for the patient. Because processes and procedures and checklists cannot anticipate and cannot cover every single context or situation. So these are the types of errors. These are the various types of errors, and we should be careful not to just assign when there's a failure, when there's a problem. We should be careful not to just assign, oh, it was human error, and that's the end of investigations. Because by doing so, we end up with outcomes and lessons learned. Things like just telling people to be more vigilant, pay more attention, put in more effort, try harder, comply with this rule and that policy and this thing, or adding a new policy or procedure and comply with that one, as well as the 500 that you've got to comply with already. And instead of that approach, and in order to maximize the opportunity to learn and improve, we should try and find out why the people at the sharp end of work made that decision, made the error. We make errors all the time, whether and even with great expertise and experience. Radiologists miss x-rays, pilots misinterpret air traffic control communications, drivers momentarily exceed the speed limit, like I was saying. And instead of blaming people, we can look to see the errors are an opportunity to learn about our systems. Errors are a window into our systems, procedures, tools, training, practices, structures, and everything else, and our cultures. Errors at the sharp end are a window into the blunt end of work. And instead of saying, well, someone made an error, that's human error, that's to blame, we ask the questions, why was someone able to make such an error? Why was the error not caught before it was resulted in an unwanted outcome? And how, in the future, can we prevent that error from happening? And if it does, how can we mitigate the impact of that error? Because we are all going to make errors, we're going to make mistakes, and that is the reality of the world. We can always strive to do better. We can always strive to improve, and this is the point. By acknowledging that we all make mistakes, we can create the conditions in which learning is maximized. So yes, that was a whirlwind tour of types of errors and human error, and why error should be it should never be the root cause, should never be found to be the root cause of a failure. And if you want to dive in more into that and counterfactuals and local rationality and everything else, head over to psychsafety.com. Drop me an email at tom@psychsafety.com. And on the website, you can get into our newsletter, our community, our meetups, all the other things that I always forget about, training and workshops and all of that stuff. So yeah, get stuck in and like and subscribe and share and do all that fancy stuff. And I'll see you next time.